January 1st, you guys, is just another day on the calendar. I don't want you to apply added pressure to yourself because the new year's approaching and it's the start of new year. Girl, you are capable of big change. You can do hard things, but you just need to take it in small steps. Hey, beautiful. Welcome back. Welcome back to the Wellness Revolution podcast. I'm your host, Amber Shaw, and thank you for being with me today. So I want to take a few minutes just to talk about something that's really been on my heart lately, especially as we wrap up the year. You know, if you are somebody who's feeling like you are not where you thought you'd be, whether that's with your healing, whether that's with your career, whether that's with your finances, your marriage, maybe other relationships, or maybe just like in life in general, you are not where either you want to be or maybe where you thought you were going to be. I just really want you to pause for just a second. And I want you to take a deep breath and let's reset together. I want to share with you today 5 reminders to really carry with you as we close out this chapter, as we close out 2024 and we step into the next. So the first reminder that I want to share with you is that, really the end of year and this new year, this whole like new year, new you, all of these things, right? Like these can be really great, pushers to kind of get you going in maybe a new direction, but they really are arbitrary markers. I know that, as the end of the year approaches and we start to enter into the new year, you can feel a lot of pressure. Right? Like, good God, social media in itself is so flooded with people celebrating wins and like celebrating the highlight reels and like hyping up the big plans for next year. But like, here's the truth. January 1st, you guys, is just another day on the calendar. The journey that you're on, whatever that looks like for you, it doesn't need to follow anybody else's timeline. And it certainly doesn't need to follow the timeline of like the start of a new year. I really just want you to just use this time like as a moment. If you are feeling like you're not where you need to be, I don't want you to, just apply added pressure to yourself because the new year's approaching and it's the start of new year. Now, I will say, I do think that the new year can be a great, excuse to kind of, a good kind of excuse to kick yourself in the ass. Maybe if you've been procrastinating on something, or maybe you've been putting off something that you said you're going to do, it can be a great reason. Right? But really the truth is that you really can make these decisions to move forward and make these shifts at any time in the year. So if you're feeling this way, that you are feeling a little bit down, or maybe you're just feeling like you're not where you're at, I just really, instead of starting to put pressure on yourself, I really just want you to use this time as we approach the end of the year and use this time to reflect and to maybe reset and to maybe refocus on what your goals are, what your priorities are. And I really just don't want you to use the end of the year or going into the new year as a measuring stick for your worth or your progress. Because I can tell you right now, when you start going down that rabbit hole, that's just going to further delay your goals and your progress, right? Remember, we don't, no negative talk here, right? So just really use it as a way to reset and reframe and refocus, right? Reminder number 2 that I want to share with you. I really just want to remind you that your progress may not be linear, right? It may not be you just tracking and just hitting this straight line and this easy path of just one win after the next, one win after the next. I just want you to know that even if your path is a little wavy, right? Or you feel like you take 2 steps forward and then maybe you take 2 steps back or whatever that looks like it still can be progress. That still can be considered progress because, as we start to, make changes in our life, it's not necessarily measured, like our progress isn't just measured about like certain metrics, right? Like certain things that we're accomplishing, whether it's money or whether it's that promotion or like whatever that is. But it's also our progress is also measured by the lessons that we learn along the way. And so I want you to take a moment and really look back on this year and not necessarily through the lens of what didn't happen, right? But what did. There is a book that I love, and I'm looking over here at my desk to try and see if I can see the name of the author, and I cannot, but we'll link this in the show notes, the name of the author. But there is a book called The Gap. I think it's called the Gap and the Gain, Between the Gap and the Gain. I'll have the official title in the show notes, but between, maybe like Finding the Gap and the Gain or something like that. And basically what this book talks about is I think this is primarily a book that's meant for like leaders or, business people, but really I think it's just as in life that we sometimes this feeling of lack from us really stems from us constantly focused on where is the gap from where we are now versus where we want to be. And we just put so much focus on that, which really leads to feelings of being less than, feelings disappointed, feeling, down on ourselves. But really what we should be focusing on are like, what are the positive things that have changed, right? What are those things that we've done or we've accomplished that are positive, that are maybe we've not gotten to our goal yet, right? But they are things that have helped us to move forward along the way. So focusing more on the gain versus the gap is really important. So, again, not just looking at what didn't happen, but what did happen. Did you survive a challenging situation, right? Did you maybe set boundaries for the first time? Maybe you set boundaries for the first time, and then maybe the next time you didn't, your boundaries weren't so good, but that doesn't mean you failed, right? Focusing on what you did do correctly and what you learned from that, and then moving forward. Did you show up for yourself? Maybe even in small ways. Progress isn't always loud or obnoxious. Sometimes progress is quiet and it's steady and it's happening beneath the surface. In fact, I sometimes think that's the best progress because that's the kind of progress that keeps us consistent. As I always say, like, change is found in being consistent over time. Right? That's where it's at, is that consistency. So I really want you to focus on more of the gain than the gap. Number 3, you are allowed. I want to remind you that you are allowed to feel both grateful for your life, but also unsatisfied. Like, this is a big one. I think a lot of God, I have a girlfriend of mine, and God love her. She's amazing. But like, she can't, I don't know if it's like the Baptist guilt in her or what, but like, she can never say anything negative. Like if she's feeling frustrated about something, she can't say anything negative. She always has to follow it up with, like, if she says something negative, she'll follow it up with, but I'm so blessed. I'm so blessed. Like, da, 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 da. And I get that, right? It's always important to just be grateful for what we have, but it's also okay sometimes to like still be grateful, but like still be unhappy with something or still be unsatisfied with something. It doesn't make you less grateful. It doesn't make you a less of a person, right? Or like somebody who's just constantly focusing on the negative. It is okay to really like feel grateful in your heart, but then also feel like, hey, I want more here, right? So it's okay to say, I'm thankful for what I have, but I want more. Wanting more for yourself is not ungrateful. It's a sign that you're growing. And it's a sign that you're dreaming and that you're stepping into your power. So I really want you to lean into those desires. They really are guiding you to the life that you are meant to create, right? I want you to remember that. A couple more I want to share with you. Number 4, you're not behind. You're on your path. Maybe your marriage ending wasn't part of the plan. I know for me, it wasn't part of my damn plan. That's for damn sure. Or maybe you thought that you'd be farther along in rebuilding your life now. But I want you to hear me when I say there is no behind. There is no behind. Life is not a race, as we all know that. And you're not comparing, or you're not competing. You're not competing against anyone else, right? You are always exactly where you need to be. In fact, that mindset right there, like I am always exactly where I need to be, even when where I'm at feels hard. Even when where I'm at feels, is devastating, right? Or all of that. I mean, God, when I was going through my divorce, that was like that mindset is what kept me through each and every day the days I didn't want to get out of bed, right? The days that I was just an emotional wreck. I had to keep reminding myself, this is hard, but I am exactly where I'm supposed to be because there are lessons that I'm supposed to be learning along the way. And I just really want you to know that you are exactly where you need to be able to learn and to be able to grow and to be able to prepare for what is next. So, so important. I know for me, this is where my spiritual beliefs really come into play, really just believing that God always has my back and that I'm exactly where I need to be, even if I don't understand it. I'm exactly where I need to be, because when you can lean into that, now your eyes are open to maybe some of the lessons, right? Or maybe some of these things that you need, that spirit is trying to show you. Now your eyes become open. And I know from my own life that God, when you can do that and you could start learning lessons along the way and really start growing as a human, there can be an incredible and amazing life that you never even imagined on the other side. But if you're always constantly focusing on the gap or focusing on, being behind or not where you want to be, or this isn't the plan for your life, then that's really where you're going to stay. That's where you're going to stay. So the last one that I want to remind you of is, girl, you are capable of big change. You can do hard things, but you just need to take it in small steps. The new year doesn't always need to bring like these massive, resolutions or overnight transformations. And in fact, sometimes, these massive resolutions, we don't end up sticking to them anyways, right? We all know that, right? But instead, I just really want you to focus on one small thing that you can do each and every day to move closer to the woman that you want to become. And what that requires is first getting clear on the woman that you want to become. And I really want to invite you to think about not just the woman you want to become with like the things you want to accomplish and the things you want to do and all of that, but but becoming the woman that you want to become, meaning how do you want to make other people feel? Right? How do you want to feel? How do you want to go about your day? What do you want your life to look like? And I want to just give you permission to dream big. To dream big. You can do anything as long as you have intention and clarity and a plan. You can do anything that you want. And sometimes I will say this to kind of go back to the clarity, intention, and a plan. Sometimes though, you don't have to have it all figured out from start to finish to even get going. You just have to get going. So maybe that clarity, that intention, that plan just even starts with the first step, right? Maybe you've got a big goal. This is what I tell women all the time when we're helping them to start their business, right? When we start thinking about everything that needs to go into accomplishing the big goal, that's when we get overwhelmed, right? But if we can just put some intention and some clarity around like maybe the first step, right? We take that step and then we take the next step, right? Before you know it, you've accomplished the big goal, but it's one step in front of the other, right? And so you can even start small with this, right? Like maybe it is starting a morning walk, right? Maybe because the woman that you want to become is somebody that wakes up in the morning and feels energized and feels calm and feels clear. And so taking a morning walk or maybe journaling for 5 minutes, right? Those are things that can help you to start your day in that way. And so that's why I really want you to get clear instead of focusing on the things you want to do as we head into the new year. I want you to focus on how you want to feel. How do you want to feel? And how do you want to make other people feel, right? And start to incorporate things like that into your life. As we know, small steps really do compound into big results. And you will get there, but it's one one day at a time. So if this is hitting and you are really feeling like you are not where you want to be right now, I just want to remind you that it is okay. It is okay for exactly where you're at. And maybe this is the perfect opportunity for you, again, as I said earlier, to really reflect and to reset and to refocus. And if you are somebody who really wants to, enter this new year with maybe really exploring some things like your passions, and maybe, starting to look at like what your purpose is, and maybe some growth opportunities for yourself. Number one, I've got some big things coming in January. You definitely want to stay close. I've got another free workshop coming up, details to come on that. But I do have a resource right now that you can take advantage of called the Crush Life Boot Camp. And this is really for my ladies who really want to start to explore, what are the things that really fuel and fire you the hell up so you can start mapping out a direction for your life. When I created this course, actually, because when I was thinking about starting my own business, 5 years ago, I really had to like get back to myself of like, okay, God, what are some of the things that like really light me up? What are my passions? What are my interests? What am I really good at? Right? Like what could this even look like? I don't even know. What am I even like qualified to do any of that? Right. And I started like really asking myself some like reflective questions just to start to tap back into me again. And so in this course, it's a free 5-day mini course, called Crush Life Boot Camp. I actually take you through the same exact questions that I asked myself 5 years ago when I was really getting back to myself. And ultimately, it is what led me to starting a side hustle, which eventually turned into a full-time gig. And I did leave corporate America, and here I am today speaking to you. And so if you are somebody, like I said, who's really wanting to get back to you in the new year, as we approach the new year, I want you to grab my Crush Life Boot Camp free course. It's here in the show notes, and really take some time. I created this course so that it could really be the jump off point to getting back to you. So take it seriously. It's 5 days. It's an e-course, so it's delivered via email, and it's 5 days of 5 different lessons. And I want you to really carve out some time each and every day and take it seriously and just really reflect and answer some of the questions and dig a little bit deeper. You may be amazed at the doors it opens for you or the possibilities that it shows you. So that's Crush Life Boot Camp, and I will put that in the show notes. And then stay tuned for some of these, stay tuned for the workshop, the free workshop that I have coming up in January. I'm going to be sharing a little bit more about that on next week's episode. Thanks so much for listening.